we get into now, folks, the first topic of conversation on this evening. And Alabama fans, you guys have two questions going into the upcoming season, especially after what happened in the last 2 years. And those questions are, number one, will Alabama return to having a feared, respected, dominant defense? And I'll answer that question on a later show. But the second question is, will the Crimson Tide return to having that power, potent run game? And we're going to answer that right now, because as much as the game is changing, people look at, you have to pass the ball more. You have to throw the ball more. You have to be explosive. You have to be dynamic. You've got to score. You are seeing what's going on here in the offensive trajectory of college football. And though that's true, we're seeing some change in the game. We're seeing some differences in the game. But despite all the changes, two of the main constants that happen in football, number one, it's the team that imposes its will, and number two, it's the team that can control the pace and the flow of the game that 9 times out of 10 will win a lot of football games, but not just football games, will win national championships. So this is what Nick Saban is trying to get back to. He knows the game is changing. He knows offenses are taking over. He knows you have to score the football, but he also knows that balance is key. Yes, we want to throw the football. Yes, we want to put points on the board, but we also want to wear down the will of the opposition. We also want to break the opponent's wheel down, be able to run the football, control the clock, control the possession and the flow and the pace of the football game, which brings us to this thought right here. Alabama can potentially, I see Alabama having 2 1,000-yard rushers, something that it has not had since the 2012 season. And you go back to 2012, just a moment here, the dominance of the offensive line that the Tide had with Jeff Stoutland as the coach. When you look at guys like DJ Fluker and Barrett Jones, Chance Warmack, guys that were just absolute monsters, James Carpenter as well, on that defensive line, blasting holes, creating running lanes to where the Mark Ingrams to Trent Richardsons, the Eddie Lacy's, those guys were averaging 5 to 6 yards a pop before the first defender could even touch them. And everybody kind of knew that Eddie Lacy would have a 1,000-yard season in 2012 just based off of 2011. Even with Trent Richardson setting the single-season rushing mark, Eddie Lacy still had 674 yards on the ground himself. So going into 2012, people thought Lacy would be a 1,000-yard back. It was just, TJ Yeldon, the quiet guy from Daphne High School near the Mobile area. What would he do as a 5-star? And we all saw it happen. He came in, picked up the system quickly, fastly, rapidly, as only Yeldon could, and he was a 1,000-yard rusher in his own right with 12 touchdowns. And Alabama even had sort of a change of pace back behind those two and Kenyon Drake in 2012. But when I look at this season, this is going to be the return of thunder and lightning. Just like Alabama had it in 2012 with Eddie Lacy and TJ Yeldon, it will have thunder and lightning with Najee Harris and Trey Sanders. Najee Harris, everybody knows this guy can be a 1,000-yard back and will be a 1,000-yard back. He put up over 1,000 yards this past season, especially he got turned up down the stretch here from the LSU game throughout the remainder of the year. Najee Harris, 209 carries, 1,224 yards, and 13 touchdowns. He had 6 100-yard games, 4 of those coming against SEC opponents there. So we know what Najee Harris is capable of. When you discuss Trey Sanders is much like TJ Yeldon in a sense of he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of ability and capability. A 5-star from the Florida area, went to IMG Academy. And this is somebody that, and I know you, the Alabama fan base, you guys don't like comparisons. He's his own guy. He's his own player. He's his own man. He's his own individual. But I spend countless amount of time talking with hundreds of Crimson Tide fans. And for a lot of you, when I bring up a player to you, the first question that's always thrown at me is, Steven, who does that guy remind you of? What former Alabama player does this particular guy remind you of? And when I discuss or when I dissect Sanders, he doesn't really remind me of any former Alabama player. However, when you dive into the NFL, there are two backs that he really pulls things from a size, physicality, toughness, breaking tackles. When he gets into the hole, he does his business. Sanders reminds me a lot of Ezekiel Elliott of the Dallas Cowboys. Sanders listed at 6 feet, 214 pounds. Zeke Elliott, 6 feet, 228 pounds. So you already see the body structure similar right there. When you look at just his speed, his ability to make plays in space, handle the ball in space, eat away the angle away from defenders from trying to tackle him and trip him up, just that ability to be dynamic with the ball in his hands in space, then Sanders reminds me a lot of one Alvin Kamara. So see a lot of Ezekiel Elliott, see a lot of Kamara in his game. And if not for an injury he suffered in fall camp last year in August, Trey Sanders would have taken a lot of carries away from Najee Harris. He would have taken some carries away from Brian Robinson. Every day I was out there in practice in fall camp, I saw something different. One day I'm seeing Trey Sanders, man, look at the speed. The next day I'm like, look at the burst. The next day, look at the acceleration. Then look at the toughness. Look at his ability to break tackles, evade tacklers, spin off guys, using that stiff arm. Look at his ability to catch the ball out the backfield, just make plays. He did something different every single day in the fall camp of 2019 prior to the injury there. So for him, Thunder and Lightning, I concede Najee Harris and Trey Sanders being the two 1,000-yard backs of the 1-2 punch. But then there lies Keilan Robinson. And where Keilan comes in, here comes that changeup, right? Najee's kind of your slide pitch. You know, Trey Sanders is kind of your fastball. Get in there, boom, 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 get it done. But every pitcher needs that great changeup, something that you're not used to. You're not looking forward to seeing it. You don't know when it's coming, but bang, it comes. You're like, what in the heck did that come from? And that's Keilan Robinson. He's that change of pace. He's that changeup. Kind of like what Kenyon Drake was and what Josh Jacobs was. And Keilan Robinson at 5'9", 190 pounds, big-time speed, big-time acceleration. Nick Saban called him the Juice Man. Not OJ the Juice Man, the rapper, but Keilan was the actual Juice Man. He was the guy. He hit the hole, gone. Can't catch him. Holler at your boy, two-stepping down the paint for a touchdown. You knew what Keilan Robinson could do. And he was the guy that had the two longest touchdown runs by an Alabama running back last season, the 74-yard burst to the house against New Mexico State, and also the 38-yard touchdown run, if I'm not mistaken, against Duke that he had. We'll fact check that. But he had two of the longest touchdown runs for an Alabama running back this past season. And Crimson Tide fans were very much so intrigued. They were very much so taken by the speed of one Keilan Robinson. Robinson this past year, 39 carries, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He actually led the entire Bama rotation of backs with 6.5 yards per carry. And when I look at Keilan, while Trey and Najee would be Alabama's 1,000-yard rushers, Keilan would fit as the 1,000-yard all-purpose back. Here is somebody that can get you 500 to 600 yards rushing, 150 to 200 yards receiving, and if Coach Saban puts him on kick return, like he did with Kenyon Drake, like he did with Josh Jacobs, like he did with Henry Ruggs, though Ruggs a receiver, not a running back. But the point being, if Saban could put Keilan on kick return, we're looking at somebody that could put 150 to 200 yards on kickoff return. So a 1,000-yard all-purpose back is what I'm seeing here. And a Keilan, that change of pace, that change up, that different feel that will put more frustration, more aggravation on the minds of defenders and defensive coordinators, which brings us to Roydell Williams. Roydell Williams, to me, is the sleeper of the group. We know what Najee Harris can do. We are excited to see what Trey Sanders can do in joining up with Najee. We look at Keilan Robinson as the change of pace back, but Roydell Williams, to me, here is the sleeper. Everyone's excited to see Jace McClellan, and for obvious reasons. Home run hitter, 5-star guy, from Texas. Everybody's excited to kind of see what Kyle Edwards can provide, a bigger back from the Louisiana area. But Roydell Williams, to me, the comp I've got for him for Alabama is Josh Jacobs. If you watch the tape of Roydell Williams and you watch the tape of Josh Jacobs, it's the exact same back, the exact same person here. Roydell Williams listed at 5'10", 207 pounds. Josh Jacobs, 5'10", 220. So the body structure there, right there around the same line. The young man out of Hueytown High School here in Alabama, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons in high school for his career. We're looking at 5,929 yards rushing, 92 total touchdowns, 84 rushing scores. And I remember when our own Justin Smith went to see him in his commencement ceremony there, signing his letter of intent. He sat there and told reporters that because he's coming to Alabama, it will be the last time the Crimson Tide will not make the college football playoffs. So Roydell coming in with a boatload of confidence. He's talking about breaking records. He's talking about pushing for a starting position. The main thing here, y'all, he wants the competition. He talked about it. Coming to Bama, there's so many great backs. There's so many great rushers. They're all 4 and 5 stars. The competition makes everybody better. I want to compete. I want the competition. So for a guy already hungry coming in, already wanting the smoke, already wanting the fire, already wanting to be the best, you got to love it there coming from Mr. Williams out of Hueytown High School. So with Trey Sanders, Najee Harris, or Najee Harris, Trey Sanders being the 1-2 punch, being the Thunder and Lightning, I see 2 1,000-yard backs for the Crimson Tide, with Keilan Robinson being the change-up and Roydell Williams being the sleeper. But folks, that takes us to our first break here on In My Own Words, the podcast. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started on a Friday. When we get back, we tackle your phone calls, tweets, text messages, thoughts, questions, and concerns after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best of the Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.